All right, last thing before we get out of here today is I think we have to at least talk about, in the vein of the two teams that we just talked about, well, really three with Tennessee in there as well, and Florida, really. Who's the second best team in the SEC? I think that's a legitimate question. You know, we've had years where we have this and have to pose this question in other conferences. We've had this conversation a lot when it comes to the Big Ten, in particular, like 2019 year, you're looking around, you're like, well, Ohio State is elite. And it's like, well, who's the second best team? We don't really know. And I think that right now, at least, you can at least assume Georgia is an elite team. They're an above the line team. And then everybody else is right now below the line. LSU is 12, Bama is 13, Ole Miss is 15, Tennessee is 23, Florida 25. 4 of those teams have one loss. Who's the second best team? And candidly, I don't know, because every one of those teams is flawed. Every one of them. Now, here's what ends up happening, and it shouldn't this year, but what ends up happening, like for instance, this week, Ole Miss and Bama play. If Ole Miss wins, everyone will just say, or the national media in this case will be like, oh, well, they beat an undefeated SEC team, even though we don't really know if Ole Miss is that good. And then we'll prop Bama up and they'll get a big bump. And Mississippi, Ole Miss will drop down just a little bit because, well, it's Bama and they were on the road. Okay. LSU gets housed in the second half against Florida State. Housed. Wasn't close. Outcoached, out-personnel, quarterback completely outplayed, and somehow they're still 12th, even though Florida State struggled with Boston College on the road. Again, make it make sense. Tennessee hasn't shown anything except for the fact that a lot of their best players left. They get run at Florida. Florida then has to jump into the top 25, but they're still behind Tennessee. Like, what are we doing? Did we not see Utah with no starters out there absolutely drill the Florida Gators? How are they 25th in the country? But this is how it works. This is how it works. Okay. So the narrative will continue to build for all of these teams, and we can sit there and debate who's the best, well, second best SEC team. I don't know. And quite honestly, the frustration for everybody else comes in when you start looking at other ranked matchups and you start to wonder to yourself, are the other teams in other conferences going to get the same benefit of the doubt that all of these teams have gotten? There's only 4 teams in the top 25 that have a loss. All 4 of those teams happen to be out of the SEC because we give them the benefit of the doubt. And guess what? Listen, I get it. Okay? I get it. Look at what they've done over the last, 20 years. They've won the last 4 national titles. Georgia's won 2, Alabama, LSU, 13 of the last 17, going back to the, 2006 Florida team. They had 3 teams finish in the top 6 last year. They've been the best conference for a long time. This year, it doesn't seem that way. And yet the narrative perpetuates. I'm just asking here, I'll just pose a question. Will that narrative exist for the Pac-12 teams this week? Look at the matchups. First of all, there's 8 teams in the Pac-12 ranked. 6 of them play each other this week. This is a massive weekend in the Pac-12. Colorado plays at Oregon. That's number 19 against number 10. Number 22, UCLA, who's not getting much run, but should with their freshman quarterback and quality defense. They're number 22. They play at 11, Utah. And Oregon State plays Washington State in the 2 most overlooked programs in America, judging by the fact that they don't have a conference next year. Those matchups are tremendous matchups. Here's what generally happens, though, in matchups like this, is that the winner kind of stays the same and the loser just gets knocked out of the top 25. That's how we've treated the Pac-12 for a long time. And candidly, most other conferences outside of the SEC. You see, in the SEC, Florida beats Tennessee, and it's like, well, they're both ranked, clearly. I mean, what a great win, And it's like, we give them the benefit of the doubt time after time after time. And they have earned that, although every season should be its own season. And in this season, the quality teams in the Pac-12 are there. The depth is there. The quality quarterback play is there. So my question is like, will they get the same treatment? Will the winner get a big bump and the loser of these games still stay in the top 25? Because that's what would happen if we were talking about the SEC. I don't know. Let's see. I think a lot determines or will be determined based on who wins and in what fashion. I mean, Colorado's ranked, Oregon's ranked, and yet Colorado's like a 20-point dog. UCLA at 22, I can't see them staying in the top 25 if they were to lose to Utah, although in a close game, they probably should because Utah is damn good. They might get their quarterback this week, and UCLA has been housing people. Granted, haven't played a great level of competition, but watch out for UCLA. And then these two teams, quietly, two of the most underrated teams in America, Oregon State and Washington State. If you haven't watched Washington State play football, you should because they're pretty good. They got a quality quarterback in Cam Ward, and they are a tough-minded team. I really like watching them. So, will they get the benefit of the doubt after this week? We shall see. Thank you for watching the Joel Klatt Show YouTube channel. And if you like this clip, make sure to like it and subscribe to the channel, and you can stay up to date on all of my college football coverage.